Hi everyone, today is April 3rd, 2018, and you are listening to The Lifting. I am Joanna Michaels, and I am joined tonight by the other hosts of the show, Christopher Stephen Jacobs and Katrina Schaff. And as always, we are thrilled you have joined us for this conversation of co-creative abilities and how we potentially interfere with others' learning experiences or soul mission. And now, as always, before we get to tonight's topic, and we're jumping right into it, we have our affirmation and blessing. So, Katrina, if you don't mind reading that for us now. Okay, so I don't actually find this an easy show tonight. I always think that it is hard to really take a close look at ourselves and untangle the ball of mess that we have gotten ourselves into. And I am being pretty literal here. I mean, just the ball of mess of our own selves. Forget those around us or the societal ball of mess that we are in, because the societal mess will unravel as we fix ourselves and see the world around us a bit more clearly and learn to navigate through it more to our highest good. This is one truth that I know to be true. Who am I to know what anyone else's soul mission or learning experience are to be? Do I exactly know mine? Well, no, not exactly. I think I am working towards it, but I do not know it. I really don't. No, I don't. Does Chris or Katrina? Well, I think they are in the same boat as me. With the guides, will the guides tell us exactly what that is, our soul missions? No, they will not. Why? Well, they liken it to cheating. It is to be an experience of growth with the faith and understanding that the overage of negativity will be handled and the expectation that we drive our own ship. One of the premises of our times here is that the learning experience offers duality to bounce off one another. So, as we have said before, many of us have had a multitude of lives here. Some of them we have been good, and some of them we have been bad, and some of them we have been both. The goal in the end is to be balanced and have understanding. So, who am I to know which is the needed experience of another, and whether they are a student, a teacher, a victim, a rub, or whatever? Or, as an interesting tapestry goes, all of the above within one life. And that is the truth. We do not know. We are not supposed to see behind the curtain yet. Our understanding of where we are is to just focus on understanding ourselves, and that the possibility of truth is that we have done it all. So, how do you feel about yourself? Overall, that is. I mean, take into account the possibility that you have been a Mother Teresa in some lives and more of a serial killer in others to learn it all. All of us most likely have ruled in some way and been good and ruthless. If you can accept this as truth, how do you feel about yourself overall? Well, for me, I do accept this as truth. And my opinion is that there is value to this learning experience to understand what it takes to really fully understand. So if I feel that way for myself, how can I not feel that way for others? And since I see the value in it all, how can I say good or bad? Because now I see the experience. Now, please don't misunderstand. There are certainly types of behavior I wish not to exhibit or be around anymore. I just understand how we learn from them. What also amazes me is if we are all individual threads, that how amazing is the tapestry of all of us. All of these movements intertwining are meetings. Sometimes we are teachers, sometimes students, sometimes those are drawn to you, and sometimes you are a rub. And many times all in one day. It is truly amazing. So just in case some of you think I have gotten off topic, let me tie it all back together. If you really think of it all and you come to the same conclusion as I, that there have been meaningful purpose to do all of this, do you want to intervene in someone else's meaningful purpose? Really? I think most here will say no, because you are respectful and do care, and you hope you will be honored as well by others. So I want to get back to something that was said in the blog. This is about your thoughts towards someone else. So again, I ask, have you ever thought of someone else's life and said to yourself that they would be happier if they would just listen to your advice or just see things as you do? Or have you ever been angry at someone and wished them unhappiness or harm? Again, doing this, having these thoughts, has been quite normal. And I really repeat, it is a normal part of the human psyche. And as we have said before, having a momentary thought does not immediately co-create. So now ask yourself, have I dwelled in some of these thoughts? Have you spent hours or days or longer repeating this over and over in your minds? Unfortunately, many of us have to admit yes to this. And as said in the blog, now we need to talk. Why? Because what do you think repeating a thought with intention behind it is actually doing? Repeating it over and over. Any visual clues coming to mind? What about a person huddled around a kettle in perhaps all black with a pointy hat? And if you are thinking which, well, yes, that is the visualization I was going for. And what are witches known for? Conjuring, right? So here's the rub. What you are taught to believe is that in order to conjure, you need special spices and tinctures to do it with. And I am not saying that that can't help. But what you really need is intent and psychic abilities. And oh, by the way, did I tell you that we all have psychic abilities? Yes, I have, many times. So I hope for many of you something is clicking in your heads. And so this is where our perception point can have us seeing things only from our perception point. And without perspective towards another's perception point, we at times decide that our perception point is the only one, the only correct path. And maybe that is true. Well, actually, it is true, but it is only true for you and you alone. Each one of us is our own pie of understanding everything. And we each cut our own pie however we want to come to the same conclusion that we are a pie of everything. How amazing is it that the source called out a pie called you? Sometimes I think about that and I am in awe that I exist at all. I mean, the source made a me pie. Then he gave me a knife and told me to go at it. Or I think usually hear of a 1-year-old birthday party, and I think, well, maybe he didn't give me a knife. He just said, go at it. Oh, and I did. A mess from head to toes and splattered all about. So if I had a ruthless life, I'm telling you, I went for it. I am sure I did. And uh, and I'm sure I had a few, and I really am sure that I went for it too. And I believe you did too. So who am I to know what type of life a person is having and what is needed for their ultimate balance and understanding? And I'm not supposed to. I am just supposed to focus on me and understanding these concepts for what they are. And now I have come to the conclusion that I am ready to leave this and move on to a new learning phase. I am darn sure of that. Believe me, I am ready to move on. How freeing it is to realize that I really only have to drive one ship, just mine. Can you feel the shackles coming off, folks? Think about it. Understanding this should make you feel a little bit lighter. Learning how powerful you are as a co-creator is important, and learning how we do not know that, thus we contributed to confusion, is also important. My conclusion is that if we wish for overage to learning experience be dealt with and just wish for another's highest good, then we show love, caring, and respect to another's sacred journey. And isn't that what we really want for ourselves and others? Sharing your experiences and what choices you made and what seemed to work and not work is a contribution that allows another to reflect. But they alone will discern and choose what is best for them and their learning experience, just as we have all done. There is no right or wrong way to cut your own pie. Chris has reflected and has tried to come up with some good examples of when we accidentally interfere with someone else. So please listen to him. Chris?
Yes, give me just a moment. Gotta slide this mic a little closer. All right. Here we go. I would like to speak about a subject that virtually no one knows about. You may ask yourself, how are good intentions harmful to anyone? I will give you a few examples of what I call the Good Samaritan concept, and supply you with all will. Okay, excuse me. I am so very sorry. Then supply you all with a ward, revocation, and audit that has proven its worth for us in recent days. Example 1. Someone who feels you need a break or are tired. Like any other attachment or entanglement, this one can have a disastrous effect on you. Say you are working a job or career that you love, but to others seem like you spend far too much time doing it and not enough time, quote unquote, for yourself. Even though the work you love is the same as taking time off, some people just do not see it this way and will insist you need a break from your work. In this sense, they are harming you energetically and physically because their co-creative abilities are much stronger than they currently know or understand. This may actually make you tired or sick of life you love because others have a far different opinion of what they do not understand. This concept also applies to the next example. Example 2. Soul Savers. This is a group that actually does the most energetic damage, in my opinion, and does so under the guise or belief that people that do not follow their faith or need constant prayers or cleansings. Some have even gone so far to believe that I had demons around me when I did not, therefore co-creating the very demons that were not there before. In this, I say a soul saver. Okay, hang on. I'm going to start over there. In this, say a soul saver is praying for your immortal soul that you will somehow see the light, quote unquote, and break away from your evil deeds, quote unquote. In my case, I am a psychic that churchgoers find evil. So imagine for a moment that 10, 100, or even 1,000 people all believe this. This belief would stagnate a business reliant upon the monies received by clients for products or services rendered because overly righteous indignation was responsible for this thought being projected. As was stated previously, people do not yet know their full co-creative potential, and thusly will send what they perceive as a positive thought or energy to you, but it is actually the opposite. The programming is so very thick with them that that negotiating with them is usually impossible, seeing as they see what you're doing as quote unquote against God or quote unquote not Jesus. I am not saying that we are stagnant, I am just using this as an example. Example 3. This ties into the previous show about possession and oppression, whereas someone that is possessed, that lives in your presence or other, can actually send what they perceive as good thought to you. Usually all of the aforementioned. This can stagnate any good timeline that you are on, be it in love, business, etc. From that person's perspective, they are thinking and doing good, but it is anything but. Example 4. People who think that not working a normal job and providing, quote unquote, in a normal way are somehow, quote unquote, off track and need to be helped or see the light. In this, some of these people may actually heavily believe that working till you die is the best policy for everyone and send you those thoughts and energy. In this may stagnate what you are trying to accomplish in life and needs to be warded from. What those people do not realize is that by sending those thoughts out, they are spreading a very dangerous set of programming to you on an energetic level. This applies to all of the aforementioned. Example 5. Psychics that believe that charging is somehow immoral and wrong in some way. I run into this quite a bit, actually. These people, though psychic, believe so strongly that what I do and others that charge for psychic service is evil, immoral, and unethical, that they can also stagnate any business ventures that paid psychics would have. Not saying this has happened to us, I'm just using this as an example. I have been told by one of these psychic channelers that their guides, quote unquote, told them never to charge or they would walk away from them. First off, your benevolent guides will never walk away from you. And second, only a negative entity or a very opinionated, negative butthurt galactic will ever issue an edict like that. 9 times out of 10, though, it is a sphere or other demon entity trying to make a for and against, or make it so that someone that has so much to contribute by utilizing the current corrupted system to everyone's advantage, even themselves, seems wrong and evil to them. This, in turn, then causes a for and against when they fight their fellow psychics and seers, praying for them to stop their evil ways or sending their guides to please stop the evil from spreading. Does any of this sound familiar to anyone? If so, use this ward, revocation, and audit. It has worked for us in semi-stagnant times. And that one will be said at the very end of this particular segment. Example 6. I am guilty of this one myself. I knew a couple that I was using my thoughts and energy on to keep them together or stable. In this, I was preventing them from evolving or growing by exploring this expression for themselves. I was this guilty party stagnating them out of my good intentions. I have since let this go and have allowed the chips to fall where they may. I have also regained more of my very own energy back because it was an unnecessary entanglement on my part. Sometimes caring for someone is not interfering in their life and watching them evolve all on their very own. Example 7. I am also guilty of this one. Many psychics and seers are and do not even realize that it is a violation. I'm talking about, quote unquote, looking at or healing someone who has not given their permission. I, like many others, thought it was for the person's highest good that I cleared them because I perceived all of what was around them as not for their highest good. When I attempted to remove the demon Draco from a friend's presence, Michael actually stopped me. I was very angry and wondered why they would allow an enemy to remain attached to a good person. He then told me that it was for his learning and would be removed at the moment he learned what he needed to learn from it. This turned out to be true because his life is much richer for it. Not all darkness is an overage. Another example of this sort of violation is when I used to work on people's energy for other people. I still do if the person gave prior permission. However, I used to view it as I was removing the evil for their highest good because the family was endangered by it. In some cases, the higher soul self will cry out for help. This is all the permission that I need, even if the human possessed aspect refuses to allow it. In that case, working on them is fine since it is determined that it is overage. However, I have learned this lesson the extreme hard way when a client asked me to look into a former friend that betrayed them. When I did so, I determined that this person was an inborn and told the client to avoid them. However, by doing this, I actually gave an edict that I should not have. Should people be around toxic energies not for their highest good? Yes, but in this case, this gave the inborn the fuel to cause several for and against and smear my name a bit. I was told this was a lesson for me not to tread in areas where I have no permission and to curb my ego at the door. And now I will read for you what I call the Good Samaritan ward revocation and audit. May my business life, home life, and meaningful relationships forever not be influenced by those with good co-creative intent geared towards the wrong means and ends. May their heart space forever discern that we are not in need. The assistance, though very well intentioned, harms my well-being and is hereby warded against, revoked, and audited in all dimensions, expressions, alternate universes, collapsing and invading timelines, as well as within my very own energy field and energy influences. From this day forward, may these people that feel I have ill intent towards them because of negative influences upon them be forever at peace within as well as around them. It is forever so. And then I added some more to this later on. May we be forever warded from the following intentions. Number 1. People that feel they need to save our souls. Number 2. People that feel that we should just give everything away and not charge. Number 3. People that feel we must work a quote-unquote normal job and do psychic work on the side. Number 4. People that feel we need to just wake up and work a normal job. Number 5. People that are inborns that influence others to turn against us, both psychically and physically. This influence can be included. It can include the aforementioned. Number 6. People that reiterate that I am burnt out and need a long break. May all of these influences be warded against, revoked, and audited as of right now, which is actually 5:33 p.m. Pacific and Arizona Standard Time, 4/3/18, or whenever you are listening to this recording. Now, I will pass this on to my mother, who has some very good points to add to this.
Good evening, everyone. Our intention, whether weak or strong, can both change the outcome of an issue in some way. Whether our words of intention come from our heart, our brain, our beliefs, or from our anger, they all can interfere with another person's path or enable someone not to take charge of their responsibilities. Bad intentions sent with strong negative emotion, anger, revenge, and so on can actually really hurt someone. We feel these bad intentions hit us sometimes physically and emotionally. At times, these negative thoughts and words are not always felt, but we can still take them on. When positive thoughts of love and caring come our way, we feel them and take them on too. One is negative and one is positive, but both can be harmful if they change the way things go, if they enable the person receiving the intention, or change someone's path in any way. Thinking negatively about someone, sending bad wishes towards another, or anything you say out loud against someone are powerful things that can really hurt that other person and can also bring your energy down. It may make you feel better, but in the long run, these negative thoughts and words affect both the sender and the receiver in the same way. Our words or thoughts are powerful. Everything we say and do goes out to the universe, so think before you send out something that you would not want coming back at you. My suggestion is, if you send something out that could hurt you or someone else, and that, be very careful because it's going to come back. Cancel it before everyone feels its negative energy. There are many ways we send our prayers and thoughts out to someone. We do it from the heart. When something is bad, we want to make it right. When someone is sick, we want them well. Our words from the heart especially come into play when someone we love is dying. It is not wrong to want to help another human being, but praying for someone not to die may be keeping them in a suffering mode when they actually want to go. Releasing them and letting them choose their own exit point is really loving them. Releasing someone out of love is one of the greatest gifts we can give someone. I have clients that ask me to send healing energy to a friend or a loved one. I always tell them it is not my place to make that decision for someone I do not know. My client nor me do not have the right to make that decision for someone else. All requests should come from the individual that needs the help. They should never come from someone that thinks they know what is best for that person or from me. It must come from them. Then and only then will I decide how to continue. In some cases, the answer for me from my guides is, yes, do what you can. But usually the answer is no, because it is their path to follow and or their path to change the situation. We can always send love for their highest good and let their soul choose the outcome of the situation. When someone is dying, there are times when some or all healing is allowed, but that person has to decide if the healing should occur. Of course, we do not want that person to die. That is a natural response. Our next response is to pray and send out passionate pleas that they do not die. The power in these pleas can hold a soul that is supposed to leave and keeps that person in a state of illness and in limbo. Send your love for the highest good and let them decide on their health and on whether they want to stay or they want to go. We can love and help someone too much. Parents do this with their children because of our overwhelming need to not lose them, or the need to guide them away from the wrong direction. We shelter them, pray for they are safe, healthy, and happy, and to protect them from the outside forces. We even go so far as to homeschool them at times so they will avoid any negative interactions. We can interfere so much we keep them from experiencing obstacles in life, different types of people as well as friends, and this keeps them from knowing how to accept differences, different types of people, places and things, and hinders them on how to make the right decisions for themselves. We love them so much, we block them from the important things that help them grow and to survive on their own. I'm not saying to not protect and love your children, but not to worry so much about what could happen to them and the effect it would have on you. Our words and actions can overprotect them out of a life that should be run by them. Your love and advice are good things, but sheltering someone from life itself is not loving them. They must live both good and bad experiences so they will know what to do and how to handle basic life issues. so they do not live a life of, "What do I do?" or have no common sense. The words and teachings you gave them will help them in life and are remembered at times they need to make important choices and decisions. They do not forget what you taught them. Your wish for them is they choose what is best for their highest good. Some of their choices will be wrong, but that is how we grow and learn not to make that poor choice again. We all want to change people and events to suit us. We want to help our loved ones and our friends with both good and bad issues. We want to be their savior. We do this mostly out of love, but we also like to change people based on our own beliefs and our biases. We can make ourselves judge and jury of everyone because we feel our way is the only way. We can go so far as putting someone down and telling them how wrong they are, or become as petty as to tell them how poorly they look. We say we want the best for someone, but it is usually that we want an outcome for what is best for us. Loving someone by interfering with their paths causes problems that would have been handled just by letting that person decide for themselves the best way to handle a problem or take steps to make the right decision. We want, and we usually think we want the best for them, but their own soul knows what it needs to say and do. It is up to them to decide what is best for them. Love, guidance, and words of wisdom passed on by you can help mold them into good, productive people, but important decisions and choices in life are theirs to make. To some of our listeners out there, I am sure you think what I am saying is kind of cold and unnecessary. Please know that I am not telling you to desert the people you love, but I am asking you to love them enough to set them free. I'm asking you to trust in them and a higher power to do what they need to do and to let them make the right and best choices in life for them. Just know you can love someone without taking over their rights and their destiny. Ask for all things for their highest good. That is trusting them and letting them make their own decisions. This is truly loving someone. This is accepting their path and knowing all is as it should be. Thank you for listening.
All right, that was very good. Tonight we're doing things a bit differently. First, we'll look for if the Galactics wish to contribute, but we are actually answering a few questions for the Q&A, since we're not doing the Q&A shows any longer. We're answering 3 questions at the end of this show. So the whole time my mother was sitting there, Isaac was trying to wave at me. So I kept asking if there were other Galactics that wanted to talk, and not Isaac, and they said no. So,
The Isaac show tonight.
yeah. There's even been a suggestion where he could get his own show, but the other skulls don't want me to humor him. So, I'll see what he wishes to say. And hold on a second. Yes, I understand you want to speak, so you can actually go ahead and do that now. Oh, okay. He's taking his sweet time. Give me a minute. Greetings, all of you. You know me as Isaac. I will keep this brief. When you send your thoughts, emotions, feelings, and your aspirations, or lack thereof, out to a particular person or set of people, you are actually changing that flow of energy that allows them to control their own destiny. What I'm saying is this. When you think a particular thought or feeling about someone, you may not know that you are actually writing their narrative, or at least adding to their narrative. I'm not saying you can completely control them. I'm saying you can affect them. Think a moment, if you will, of a script being written. A fictional one, not the bad kind. Of a story where you write this person as a bad guy, and you write particular actions for said person. In this particular scenario, you may also notice that this particular person is mirroring some of those particular actions. or that, say, a job position you have this person in the story is something that they truly attain. This is something that you are writing from your heart space, so therefore it manifests very quickly. In this, I am just saying, I'm not saying not write a script. No, not at all. I'm just saying that do not put such harsh intentions towards your target. Keep fiction fiction. Keep your manifestations manifesting, and in the positive polarity and balanced polarities. Now, in regards to healing, I can say this. If you wish to create a character, let's say, of somebody you know, but that they are perfectly healthy, you are sending them healing energies, and therefore you are actually helping them out. If you are creating characters based on friends that you wish to have their lessons learned by them, and therefore it happens, you are creating something good. I am just saying, not always is it good. If you are a fiction writer, may I suggest that you create a ward to go with this, so you do not co-create something that could backlash and stagnate your own energy and your own timeline in the process. This is what I came in to say this evening. Blessings to you all. Thank you. All right. Let's see here. Is there anybody else that wants to speak, or was it just him? Oh, it was just you, Isaac? Okay. I guess we can move on to the questions now.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we decided, as we said before, that we were going to start adding questions, a few questions to each show, rather than have a completely separate Q&A. And let me kind of give you an understanding as to why. This actually came up as a question from somebody when I was writing emails with, and I didn't quite understand some of their perspectives, and we had told many of you out there to be specific with your questions you're asking, not general, but we were still getting a lot of things where people were sending us, hey, watch this video, watch this, tell me, what do you really think about? What do you really think about the person who's saying it? What do you really think about the information? And the fact that the videos or whatever that would come in could be, could actually be quite long. And as we say that we've said before, that we don't spend a lot of time doing that, monitoring a lot. Every now and then we'll go through a period where we're trying to get an idea of what's going on, but as in a general thing, no, we don't spend our time doing that. And so I was writing this particular person back explaining it, and the person wrote me back, and then I finally understood the question, because the person wrote me back and said, oh no, I'm not trying to get Chris to, have to watch any of this or whatever. Just ask the Galactics what they think. And then it dawned on me the perspective, and this is what's really important, trying to understand other people's perspectives so that you can actually have a meaningful conversation. So I finally got it, because I think in that particular instance, the thought is that Chris, at times, like he just did with Isaac, was acting more as a conduit. Just, I want to hear what they have to say. Will you just do it so I can hear them kind of conversation? So what I want you all to understand, and if you want to make any statement on this, of course you can, Chris, is that that's not what Chris's purpose is. His purpose is way more than that. And so although in the beginning, even if you go back historically and you go back to the beginning, even when I think, Chris, you were putting things on YouTube in the beginning, what you're going to see is more of a conduit. But Chris himself is expected to learn and grow and pull down information and to bring it through, discern it, and bring it out as truth, either pulling it from the Akashic or pulling it from wherever. And so the expectation of Chris from the Galactic guides in his growth is that he will take whatever questions come through. He will actually learn a little bit about it. He will then pull through the information that he can find, and then he can consult with the Galactics, or the Galactics will also like to contribute in the conversation. But the idea of Chris's role as just being a conduit, that expectation has changed. And so when we were doing some of the last Q&As, it took a very long time to actually put the Q&As together. It took a lot of time for Chris because he literally was looking at things, doing it. So we decided, well, we feel the Q&As are extremely important, but we need to actually just do a few at a time, because then it takes he doesn't have the enormous amount of time that he was actually spending on some of these Q&As preparing for it. And I don't know if there anything else you want to say to that.
No, you said just fine.
So I just wanted to give everybody a little bit better understanding as to why we say really be specific about the questions and what you want to know. If you're watching a show, then ask the question. You can certainly reference the show if you want, but instead of saying a generalization, what do you think? Because we're going to end up coming back to you saying you're supposed to be discerning the kernels of truth, is what we're going to end up coming back and having to say, is if there's a specific question within that, whatever you listen to, ask the specific question. And then that would be very helpful to us here. So anyway, we are doing 3 questions tonight. We're going to, wait and see how it works, how many questions per show we're going to do. But I at least wanted to give you some generalized explanation of how things have changed, and the expectations of Chris have changed, because he's expected to learn and grow just like the rest of us. So anyway, first question was from a person who was actually at a temple in Tokyo. And so I think you're going to include the picture.
Yes, I can do that.
Okay,
yes.
you'll include the picture. So I wish I could even say this temple, but I can't. Can you pronounce that at all?
No, just insert Japanese word here.
With a -ji on the end. I don't know what that word is. Okay. So this person went to this temple and said, I put on my best protection for energy harvesting before entering, and went and sat down in the inner temple. It was beautiful, but many people who were sitting were nodding off. I declared the space neutral, but then had a really tough time getting the next sentence out for the good Galactics story, for them to come and do some cleansing. It's like my mind went blank. I forced it out, then my mind blank went away, but still felt like there was a kind of like a psychic block that had occurred. That went away soon after I stepped outside. And I remember what Chris said about harvesting spheres, needing to see sky and spires and the like. So I went into the courtyard and looked up, and sure enough, and this is the most atypical temple I have seen. And again, we're going to insert a picture. And so she wanted to know Chris's thoughts on that particular temple in Japan.
Well, there are a couple things that I will say here. The reason your mind went blank is because the binary network and the energy collection causes this. Knowing that you were saying the words to actually stop this from taking place, causing your brain to become forgetful. And I've had this too, even with wards and revocations and audits that I do on a regular basis. All of a sudden, I won't remember the words of them for a particular thing, just to keep me ensnared in whatever programming the binary network or what have you wants to keep me ensnared in. And this person I did a read for not that long ago. And this part I can say, I just won't say the name. I did bilocate into this particular temple, and I did find a harvester energy collector. Weird thing was, I found 3 goopy looking spindly beings at the bottom. Usually I only find 1. And they were all hiding and huddling in the corner. They weren't very hard to get rid of. And I got out of there, and then that was that. Well, it turned out some neutrality declarations that had been done earlier with a friend of ours that lives in that area actually started to work, and the spindly beings were finding some of their old refuges to actually take cover in. And what was happening is that's why these people were nodding off so quickly, and that the people were becoming so forgetful, is because the fact that these beings were drawing in more than they normally would in that one spot. And this is a popular spot in Tokyo, from what I understand it. And I don't want any hate mail for bashing this temple, because I'm not bashing it. I'm just distincting between the good intentions of the parishioners and the bad intentions of the archons that were there. But I took care of that one, and it shouldn't be too much of a problem. But I would still suggest anyone living there that, or any other temple for that matter, still go through the neutrality declaration and still revoke any contracts or anything of the sort when you come out of the place, or any other temple or church for that matter, or historic site. So with that, we'll go on to the next one.
So the next question was, could you talk about some of the hidden earth history of the Greek goddess, is it Hecate?
Hecate.
Okay, Hecate. She has a relation to Apollo and Helios, but I am wondering about what is her true history with humanity on this planet?
And this is very interesting. I'm going to read this from a notebook. Isaac, of course, brought this channeling through, and this connects, synchronistically enough to other things that we were finding out about the binary network. This goes back to the history of the moon itself. I looked into this history and found Hecate, Trivia were the same goddess, Roman and Greek equivalents, and also the moon god Janus, who is the guardian of doorways, portals, and entryways and gates. And what happened was, you may have heard me referred to in some dreams to somebody that we laughingly called the Dick consciousness. Well, this was actually the AI consciousness that now inhabits the moon. And this is the basis for the sky portion of the Arconian binary network, or the last of the space portion of it, and one of the oldest. And we came to find out that even though the binary network was created in 1964 by the Nazis, they thought they were the ones enslaving mankind with this binary network. Well, Janus was already in the sky. Of course, the moon was already there. And he had actually taken over as the avatar for the binary network's AI at least 500,000 years ago. So he was actually in the same quagmire as the rest of the Galactics were at that time, and he never came out of his dark period. Well, where Hecate comes into this was a very complex web. I will try to annotate this as much as I can. Like I said, with Trivia and Hecate, there were portions of this where she was not only in the process of creating nymph-like beings, but she was also in the process of actually rendering age. She was a two-faced, and we were told that any being that is two-faced in history is actually artificial intelligence being interpreted by ancient peoples. And this is actually, I will go ahead and I will read this channeling by Isaac, and I will try to dumb down as much as possible some of the stuff I brought through in downloads earlier. It's just a bunch of scribblings, but I will try to abbreviate it. Isaac here, everyone. The being you all know as Hecate or Trivia is not what she appears. Think of this for a moment, if you will. The mindless trivia of the day that program. Hold on, excuse me a minute. The mindless trivia of the day that programs the so-called weak-minded cause. Excuse me. I am so very sorry. I'm having a hard time reading this. Give me just a moment.
He really does scribble.
Okay. The mindless trivia of the day that programs the so-called weak-minded cause one to be distracted from their given sole purpose. The TV you all watch with the violence of the full moon is as literal as you see and feel. Janus, the moon's soul trap, so-called God, came to the moon in the time of Maldek's destruction. In this, he brought the flame of programming the Archontic invaders wished him to. His torch was and still is a key that his sister holds the other of. And I actually came to find out that Hecate is associated with the dual torch. I found out these are like the dual keys that you would find on a nuclear sub. The Nazis that inhabit the moon actually have the means to shut their computer systems off, or they think they do, with a dual key system such as this. But there is actually a more advanced version that they don't know about that is still up there. Okay. Hecate was corrupted even further back in time than he. He is the corruption of the full moon, as she is the corruption of the new moon. Together, they make up the for and against within the Arconian binary network, and as such, compete for ascendance. She is far worse than he, because she is the queen of the decrepit and vile dehumanization towards her fellow women. In just a moment. She is the reason certain pornography exists at all, creating new quote-unquote nymphs with Orion magic, meaning the clones of the women that can send her brother Janus askew. You see, do you not, that she is of Orion's belt, and he is and was the victim of nymphonic temptations. She alone claims sovereignty over the naked forms of women. She alone feels that she can control what she feels she created, just as he feels that he created the concept of God and Source. The true master race, quote unquote, of the white royal blood created the bindings that he uses. However, it is she that is the more dangerous, because men fall victim unknowingly to the wiles of the feminine promises. He is the moon trap, as she is his trap. Get it now? All AI in your history is two-faced. There are few exceptions to this. Remember this, please. Blessings to you all. Isaac. And in this was actually a very fascinating set of events that I came to find out. Any of the three-headed goddesses that you find out in history are this person, or this being, and the two-headed gods of anything, or two-faced gods, are all artificial intelligence. There are where she said they said she created nymphs. This was in the trivia history. I came to find out that the Orion Greys and the artificial intelligence actually clone these nymph vampiric type women, and yes, they do exist, unfortunately. I came to find out they are a dark version of the people misinterpret them as fairies, but think of them as more a type of spindly being that isn't necessarily so spindly. They are a female form of vampire that existed in virtually all Earth ages. So that actually came up. And the fact that people get these things all screwed up, like the gods and goddesses that they attributed to, say, just Enki and Enlil, or all of the female goddesses are just one person or two people. I came to find out that's an entangling of all of this AI together. Basically, I'm trying to laymanize this for a minute. Think of a fingerprint that has been duplicated a million times. And seers and psychics are actually channeling what they think is, say, Enki, Enlil, Jesus, Zeus, anybody, or the sacred feminine. This AI is duplicating this fingerprint all across the board. And this is basically what this binary network is also doing. And let's see if I can I will actually go ahead and scan this particular page for people if they wish to see my notes. But I also came to find out that part of Enki's personality was also duplicated, and that is the AI planetoid we know as Jupiter. So the only ones that are actually left out of all these AI heavy hitters are, I believe, Hecate and Janus. And those are the only two of the space AIs that are actually remaining out of this. I hope I didn't confuse anybody, but I'm just saying this was the history that I actually came to find out. And I will leave links on the YouTube description of these different histories that I came to correlate with my notes. So, Joanna?
Yeah, so what was interesting, just as an aside, because I think we get a little bit in awe here when some certain synchronicities pop up. So here we were learning a little bit more about, again, the one we lovingly call the dick consciousness, and understanding that really, he was based on or uploaded from Janus, and learning all about who Janus was in history. And then lo and behold, within 24 hours, we get a question that leads us to understanding the whole concept, better understanding of the Arconian binary network, because his sister is also involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
And so we found the whole thing fascinating because it just opened up our understanding of all of this, in such a synchronistic and crazy way. And that kind of stuff happens to us a lot, and it still is awe inspiring, when even for us to doubt, and then we start to see all these synchronicities and go, this is just crazy how this is all falling together, but it really happened. So I just wanted to let you know that we were fascinated by this. Mm-hmm. So the last question we'll answer tonight says, hey Chris, quick question. For the past 2 weeks, every time my cat gets near me, I pet her or she sits on me, and I get a tingling sensation that starts at my crown chakra and goes down my spine. What is this?
Well, I put here, I feel since animals have come into this life to help heal us, she is blocking or removing programming or other energetic ailments from you, resulting in your frequency spiking. I feel this is what you feel. And I have actually felt this before, even with spirit animals being around. And they could come in to raise the mood, but they're also trying to remove ailments. I've seen this with many pets and other people's pets. And I've been around that, I'm loving up somebody's puppy or kitten or something, and then I feel that same thing. I may have come in there with, I wasn't in the greatest mood or something, and these animals will help raise this energy. What they're doing is they're filtering this and pulling this away from you, and your own energy is actually raising, the frequency is raising as a result. And this is what I know, and then also I can see Isaac is bobbing like a bobblehead up there. So yeah, and I know, and I can feel from other guides, even though I don't see them, that this was actually correct information. And if at some point they wish to elaborate on this, they can do so. But this is the information I know.
So I'm going to add one more question, because it's actually come to me a lot this week. And Chris, this is an impromptu one, so I hope you're ready. How are you feeling since your session with Inga? Because inquiring minds, everyone who has listened out there wants to know how you're doing.
Well, this was actually very interesting, and this was something I didn't even expect. I didn't even know there was this bad of a blockage. So, Inga, if you're hearing this, this was very beneficial. Even though about 6 hours after your read, I felt like I was hit by a bus. So, this was in a good way. The emotions were total pendulum swing. I couldn't keep anything together. It was what was very fascinating about this. This particular blockage that I didn't even know was there for a very, very long time. There was a portion of it that I knew about, and people that listened to me on the Diamonds Network and later on in some sessions, you'll hear me talking about an implant that sat at the center of my brain that was put in during the SSP time. It was very similar to how some SSP MyLab people have the ocular implant, very much like an internal Borg implant. Well, this thing I knew didn't belong there, but I knew that there was some kind of filtration going on with it that I was not ready to look into, certain knowledge I was not ready to look into. Well, Inga removed this thing completely from me, and a blockage that was between my brain stem and the middle of my back. What I found out was there is an energy center in between there, in between the platinum chakra, which is at the base of the neck, And in between there, in between the shoulder blades, which are several energy centers there that look like wings if they were to pop out. This involves creativity and downloads. And what happened with this was very fascinating. You'll hear on that reading where she was referring to, and I was referring to, different time frames: 18, 28, 38, 43, 48, and so on. Well, what those were actually referring to was a concept called the cosmic clock. And the cosmic clock is the universe and multiverses way and sources way of giving you downloads from the overall archive nodes that are out there, the Akashic nodes, and the creative inspiration that you're supposed to be bringing through. And what synchronizes up with this is this. Friends for years were telling me to take my stuff and write fiction. Well, there was this programmed side of me that always thought there was something wrong with that because I didn't want what I did to seem like a lie. I didn't want people viewing it, as like, oh, if he made that up, what else did he make up? And that just kind of took over this whole thing. I didn't write poetry. I didn't write fiction. We've only begun to start doing this. Well, when she removed that, I would have to say about a day or so after, I all of a sudden felt, this energy just spiking, through my spine. Everything was balancing out. And I actually started to write ideas down for shows. I'm not going to tell you what they are, of course. You're going to eventually find that out when they're created, and for books and poems and such. Well, I would have to say at least decades worth of blockages all decided to pour out at once, and I ended up creating an entire new story Bible with script points, the whole thing within 2 hours. And what had happened was that particular valve, let's say, that was supposed to be getting downloads was actually getting them clear and concise again. Even though I've been getting downloads for creating other objects and stuff we've been working on, it wasn't completely the same. It was another thread of this. It involved my own imagination and my own ability to actually steer that ship. And it wasn't just based on the Galactics. It was based on, of course, characters and stuff are based on them. But it actually was more of it pouring out. And I noticed when I started doing this that my energy spiked twice where it was. And this pissed the dick consciousness off like you wouldn't believe. And a lot of these other entities. And there was another day in there where they tried to beat the crap out of me. Then I went back to doing this again with writing things. Then they went after Joanna. And then now I went back to writing things again, and it's actually evened out again. So this is actually one of the things that happened. That blockage is no longer there. That implant is no longer there, and it's not going to ever be there again. But I do know some fascinating things have been happening. Just like if there's some emails that you haven't checked or didn't know existed in an inbox. There were messages even from myself from the backstage and from earlier on in history that I managed to channel out as well, and more history about myself then, and not necessarily the blockages that some of the SSP memories had there. This was more the ancient stuff and the more relevant stuff to the now, and these were the things that Inga actually did for me, and that I actually were able to clear out. Well, then now, because we've discovered a lot of this information about Janice and all this, he's actually fairly PO'd that managed to do this, but he didn't have the same kind of manipulative hold as he did prior. He tried. He tried to affect my heart. He tried to affect my brain, and he couldn't do it completely. He couldn't sway me emotionally. He couldn't sway me to actually do hardly anything, which he really couldn't completely before. But it was there was less of a punch there. I was actually able to actually look at him and even speak to him for a little bit, even though it was painful. It actually didn't affect me like it would have before, so I gained a greater immunity. So that's actually the things that went on after my session.
And I will say that, when Chris and we've never posted, and I don't know when I'm ever going to say yes to posting the session that Chris and I first had. But I will tell you that, for some people out there, when Chris is working on you just the same way that Inga was working on him, and others. I'm not just saying them. Sometimes people can go in and they're going to clear some things out of your energy, and you are going to end up with this kind of delayed response, and you are going to have potentially physical pain potentially. I know I did. I felt like I had just come out of back surgery, and it took me several days to recover. So actually, Chris, this was your first experience at that, so he may be maybe just a little bit better prepared to let people know you understand if they're feeling a little achy afterwards, because now you've experienced it yourself.
Yes, yes. I've never been on the receiving end of it quite like that.
Yeah. So, and we certainly don't want, again, for anyone to be afraid to do it, but I think it always amazes people sometimes that, when Inga was on there saying, take it easy. And I know Chris was thinking, I'm fine. and then 6 hours later, he's like, what the heck? That I understood completely, because that's what he did to me. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. So we thank everyone tonight for joining us, and we really, really hope you have enjoyed anything. And Chris, you want to give the last affirmation and blessing?
Yes, sure. The last one is from Perry. He has never actually spoken before. He's Percy's brother, just to let everybody know. May your home and work life be filled with balance, and may your soul be filled with joy. Perry.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we hope you have a great rest of the week, and we are going to put our finger to the wind next week, and we're going to tell you everything we know that's kind of going on right there, out there, the game plan, the chess moves, everything that we can decipher. So you may have really find the next show next Tuesday interesting as we talk about what we feel is going on and the plans of the good and the bad guys. So everyone have a great rest of the week. Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you. Welcome to a lifting episode we have chose to call The Harmful Effects of Good Intentions 2. Quite a while back, we actually did an episode of this about different harmful intentions, such as prayers, what could be piggybacking on those prayers, on channelings, and the like. I wanted to reiterate some of those things. This will be in this part of the show. But as you can see, we're at the park here. It's pretty vacant except for other parts off that way. So we have this section to ourselves. So if you hear some kids and some music in the background, that's them. But we wanted to bring up some things because of some things that have happened very recently in the new energy, and I will go into it in this. I don't know if you want to say anything first, Joanna?
Sure. I'll be happy to start off. First of all, of course, we always like to share a blessing. So blessings to everyone out there that's listening to us now and in the future, and understand that in this great year of potential that we're going in within 2020, it's the year to learn about how to co-create and to co-create better even for others around you. So listen and let it seep into your heart. A way that really shows your loving intent towards others, and we bless you all. So, in general, those of you that have followed us for the last few years, so now we're into 2020. We started this in this set of series of talks with everyone in the year 2017, which is why we decided to refer to ourselves as the lifting. But if you try to reach us by email, you're going to see the lifting 2017 as a part of the email address, because that's when we kind of began this in a little bit more public way. But we have discussed a lot of things, and one of the areas that we brought up back then that probably ruffled a little bit of feathers was our understanding of the way things were out there in regards to let's say, beings that are not necessarily seen with the naked eye in different frequencies that actually come and participate in your life, be it in a nice way or be it in a not so nice way. And when we introduce this, it potentially is a lot to swallow. So one of the things that I described back then, which I still describe it the same way now, is terminology and how people wanted to refer to things. One of the areas that people often used in relationship to what they learned as maybe a religious practice or a better understanding were the term, let's say, God, meaning the term in certain religions, you'd say, what God? If you're talking the Hindu religion, you're like, which one? For what? If you're thinking of a Christian religion, usually there's the singularity of the one. But if you put it all together in a concept with humanity, you could be talking about more than one particular being or understanding. So then these words become more of an umbrella term. God, depending on who you are, can mean a multitude of actual things in relationship if we were talking, let's say, a deity or an individual or an ascended type of person. So the word God then is different. The same thing actually seems to apply for the word angels or angelic or even the angelic realm. What does that really mean? What we've seen is that that term, again, turns into more of an umbrella term to maybe host many types of beings that are underneath it. The one conversation that was actually not had much, I will say much because in different religions it has been had, is the fact that am I dealing with somebody who's here that will help me in a benevolent way? Or am I dealing with something that maybe will help me or hinder me in more of a negative way? In certain religions, they would refer to certain gods as being maybe good or bad. But if you use the term angel, there is a presumption that has occurred where people believe that these beings, of course, are only benevolent and there for your highest good. It is an assertion and a belief system that we've tried to tell people about that it's not necessarily true. And unfortunately, to whose benefit would it be for you to potentially think that way? And that would be towards more that are negative because they can hide within the term. You send out a prayer and you call in an angel, but if you are not specific to things like, I want somebody benevolent for my highest good, then you could potentially open the door for someone who's coming in who considers themselves a part of that angelic realm, but you're going to end up having a crappy day because they are actually going to potentially not help you in the way that you needed. In a sense, for spiritual growth, as we all grow and realize there's way more out there than we may have originally thought, or our predecessors, our parents and people, that there's way more than they thought, then you start to realize how some of those thought processes have been used to get you to be involved with bringing in things that, again, are not for your or others' highest good. So we wanted to have this conversation again because of the importance of the energies going into 2020. So we've been talking again. You've had the last shows that you've seen where we did the year in review, where 2018 was a big year of people deciding who they were.
You mean 2019?
Well, 2018, and then into 2019 was the let's say testing of the self to see, was my definition of myself who I think I am? And so the only way to do that is to put you through scenarios, let's say, to see, are you who you think you are? And if not, adjust or whatever. And then we start into these energies that are going to be coming into 2020, and it's going to all be about now learning the skill of co-creating. Now, right now, we have to undo, because we've always been co-creators, we're just going to be more of ones now with these energies that enhance that, and our skills grow. So you have to be aware of when you could be potentially co-creating something that isn't necessarily for your highest good. Now, this is going to happen by you creating things that aren't necessarily for your highest good, and then you getting a feeling that this is not going well. And in your reflection, normally after you blame something else for the problem, where you have to take a really good inner look at yourself saying, maybe I did have something to do with this, and then how can I potentially myself do something in a little bit different way that will now give me the results that are more in line with what I really want. It's going to be trial and error, because you have to have things to bounce off of to figure it out, but that's kind of the movement. So we just wanted to be able to really have this conversation for people to think about again, because we interact with many others, and we have to really think, how can we interact with others if, assuming you're a good person and you care, how can we interact with others that is actually for their highest good? And as we've said before for many years, that you don't know what their highest good is. You do not know the experiences that they wanted to come in. Many people believe that highest good always means easy life, benevolent life, everything a piece of cake, floating on a cloud, this, that, and the other. And I'm not saying that people don't come in to have what we call a break life,
or a timeout lifetime,
or a timeout lifetime. But we're actually growing beings. We're meant to grow and learn. We innately, believe it or not, have the desire to grow and learn. And although this particular lifetime may be challenging and all people want is a break, and that's understandable, and you can certainly have a break, it is understandable, but there will become a time that you will be you'll be curious and you'll want to expand even further. That's just an innate part of our soul selves and who we are. So we wanted to try and bring up this specific example of interacting with others and your thoughts and your co-creative skills to make sure that you truly understand. And again, we're actually talking to those people that in their heart of heart want to be good and want to be loving. So one of the first things that we've always talked about is basically if you simplify, and instead of deciding what is good for somebody else, if you're really caring about them and their soul mission and what they want to learn, then it's kind of simple. Ask for benevolence. There is a difference between benevolence and malevolence, and it is known very clearly. There's no huge trickery in those words. And so when you ask for benevolence, but benevolence for their highest good. So what happens sometimes is that, especially if you may be wanting to hold on to certain relationships, you're actually asking for benevolence for your personal desires. And you may be sending out prayers because you want them to change, or you want them to act in a different way, or you want. And, maybe for their highest good and for yours, a relationship really wasn't meant to completely work out. Maybe you were meant to come together for some learning lessons, and then you were meant to go apart to experience something else. So you have to reflect when you're sending out these wishes. Is it for their highest good that you're really wanting, or are you trying to have this interaction with them for your highest good? And it's very hard to admit sometimes that we are doing things and putting out prayers that are actually more to benefit ourselves than others. So you have to be willing to look at it, and you have to be honest about it. But once you get it, most people really do understand, and they want to put out true benevolence towards other people, true support, true whatever. And it's simple. You don't know what's supposed to happen, but what you know is whatever their soul is here to do, you want them to be successful. So it's simple. Benevolence for their highest good, or benevolence for your highest good. It may not get you out of the speeding ticket, It may not get you out of the confrontation at work because maybe you're meant to learn from that. But again, it will provide people potentially with the support they need for their personal journey. And it cuts through everything. So Chris wanted to talk about and bring up, and he wrote some notes on some very specific personal examples of what we would call the potential consequences of people doing things that they don't know they're doing. And again, I'm talking about people for the good. All negativity really knows how to conjure and knows how to do things, and they're just, so we're not talking that. We're talking about those out there that are currently unaware and how to make them aware and understand better, since they're becoming much stronger co-creators. So Chris, you want to go ahead?
Sure. All right. Yeah, and also before I read this, in the year 2020, I talked about this on the Interstellar Council as well, where some Galactics have made jokes. It's the year of 2020 vision. So that actually makes a lot of sense. That it's a year of co-creating quicker, at a quicker pace, with less of a filter. There, we've spoken about the filter that is in between that. You have to have really good intention towards and focus towards what you're wanting to create and co-create. That filter has now been cut by at least half. So we're getting to the point where we're getting to be able to co-create things a lot faster. And also, it's not only external energies, it's our own internal evolution as well. So I'll go into this. I know I'm reading from a paper. You're seeing this script in front of me, but this is exactly what we do when we are on any lifting show. We're just looking at it on a computer screen. So if people are wondering what I'm reading, there was a question going, oh, what is Chris reading? It's this.
And why? Because sometimes there is an attempt to interfere with it. And so there are some shows we do a little bit more ad lib, but in general, if it's really important, you especially don't want to be distracted from it, so you'll write it down first.
Yes, and because some things will leave your head, where something's trying to not make a point. Writing it down grounds it a little more in the Akesh, and then going back and rereading it, then we'll do even more so. So I'm going to go into this now. I wish to speak for a moment on a topic that has been resurfacing for me personally for some time now. In fact, it is 2 points I wish to make at this time. For one, sending angels or other beings within a prayer or blessing. From my standpoint, I have been assaulted many times and for long lengths of time from beings that have been sent by other humans in an attempt to either save my soul or in an attempt to send a blessing to me and my family. This is a form of conjuring and invocation that does not need to occur. What I mean is this. Since we have explained that angels are nothing more than mutated dark Orions, this means if you send one in a blessing to myself and my family, we will end up seeing and getting accosted by said being or beings, either in dreams or in the physical. For me, it has been both leading up to the end of this year. Aside from all of our energy reports, I have felt a bit trapped and separated from myself, so much so that I could not function at the peak of who I am. So last night, I had a dream whereas I was speaking to the actor Adrian Paul. If you're seeing this, Adrian, I'm not actually talking about you. It was just a form that was in this dream. It was from me watching Highlander all those years ago. So good show, by the way, if you're watching this. Hopefully, but more than likely not. So I walked up to his dressing room and asked him for an autograph. He was a bit annoyed, but he did it anyhow and handed the paper with his signature back to me. I took it, which is, as we have said, a Dreamtime no. I was instantly in downtown Raleigh, North Carolina, chained to a stone table inside of a bubble being generated by 4 stone obelisks. I was told to sit at the table and never move again. I awoke from this a bit weak, but still able to function. This, my friends, is what I refer to as a spirit body theft or light body theft. Whereas your bilocated self is stolen in the midst of astral projecting into another realm or place and is chained or captured in a holding area such as an alien or military lab. or in a cloning lab to kickstart a new clone. And yes, this does happen, folks. Both are malevolent in nature. Sometimes I forget to wear my hematite bracelet to bed, and this can occur. Hematite does prevent this for the most part, everyone. I just forget to do it on about half the occasions. I forget to do this. And there's usually a reason why. So I went and stood in the shower and allowed my third eye to drift and saw myself in a lab with two aliens that were trying to distract me from getting my energy back. I was floating in a cylindrical tank of blue energetic liquid. That's usually like soul shard, or like a quantum box of some kind, but in a cylindrical shape. I quickly smashed this and freed myself and several others that were there, after which I knew something was still wrong. So I allowed my third eye to drift again and found myself surrounded by crooked-nosed angels in a floating cathedral. You've heard us speak about these guys before. I quickly got rid of them and their temple and asked for a second time that True Benevolent Source Creator audit the source of the theft and return to me any energies that were for my highest good in the current moment and discard the rest. From both of the occurrences, I got all of my energy back and my core went back to normal. The point to me speaking about this is this. There are two types of people that send these entities. The ignorant worshiper wishing to save your soul, and the well-intentioned person sending a prayer with the angels that have been told, these people have been told are benevolent beings that heal people. Far from it. There is also another type of person who sends the being intentionally and for malevolent reasons, such as those who send jinn and demons to someone's home, business, or body. These are dark sorcerers and magicians. However, this is not the part of this topic that I wish to focus on. What I am asking that you do as you listen to this is simply amend how you send a blessing to someone. It cannot be in the name of any angel or deity, save in the name of True Benevolent Source Creator. Though there are many benevolently intended beings out there, there are sometimes just as many imposters and fakes that will follow the prayer and the blessings right back to us and cause the aforementioned trouble. Sometimes I do not get to correct this or cannot correct these attacks for some time, and it can encumber my ability to defend myself or read people. Since I do not wish to do harm to people, I end up having to cancel a session at the last minute, of which I do not like to do to anyone. But I do not wish to entangle the client with any unneeded garbage energies either. So I cancel the session in an attempt to figure out what is going on. There are those humans that will ask for you to lend their energies to a cause as well, ending up with the same result as well. Never willfully allow another to use your energies, no matter what they tell you it is needed for. Intentions only. Never your energy. In short, please, if you are going to send blessings to us all here at the lifting, only have it be your very own intentions and the blessing of True Benevolent Source Creator. I cannot stress that one enough. Before passing this back over to Joanna, I wish to make one further point. Under the same topic heading as was previously stated, some people will send demons in their home or business our way, specifically my way, thinking that, oh, Chris is strong, he can just chop its head off, or Chris can handle it since I cannot. This is simply not true. Please do not send demons our way anymore out of some sense or effort in clearing and cleansing your own property or business. As a trench worker, I do not take into... I am very sorry, there are distractions nearby, very close. I do not take into my energies or my body said demons in order to remove them from someone's person, home, or business. I just don't do that. I know others do utilize this time-honored practice, but I do not. In fact, it is my understanding that there are very few people who can transmute demons within themselves and not be hurt immediately or over time. So what I do not believe good people realize is that when you send something my way, that you first link to me, and then that entity follows that link into my very energy or my body. You are not throwing them somewhere around me, you are throwing them within me. Just remember that every time you think of someone, you are sending a thread that may attach to them. You're creating a quantum thread that it actually attaches to them. You've heard the old phrase, thoughts are things? Well, this actually can open a portal. Every channeling, every conjuring is a portal. This is why now more than ever we have to understand this and learn to control our own thoughts. What you need to do is grow more yourself and grow your own skills. Try to visualize said demon or dark alien being sucked into a box or trap and see that energy being turned into either nature energy or light energy. Or ask True Benevolent Source Creator to help you out with this. I do not wish to denigrate people for wanting to help us or help their very own situations, but sending these aforementioned sources to us, or even just myself, cannot continue to occur. This prevents me from doing my work and also harms the stability of my relationships with my family and Joanna. Thank you all for listening to this. It may sound to some people that I might be bitching about something, but this is a topic that I wished to bring up.
It's not us. It's not us. What we're saying is, again, that we're to the point where we can kind of, get a sense of what's going on, see what's going on. But it's not just us. This is happening all the time. I oftentimes, think about how many, let's just say marriages, how many marriages have been interfered with so many blessings being sent their way, or they're in a time of trouble and so many whatever. And it was done in a way that just maybe doggy piled them with other things because people inadvertently didn't know how to actually send blessings in a way that really only had benevolence coming their way. And so, no, this is us providing everyone with a higher, I would like to say, I don't know how to say it correctly, basically a higher level of understanding of what actually occurs and then how other entities and different things respond to it, so that you can watch your words and watch your thoughts to the point where, again, we're talking to those people that really have good intentions at heart, so that you now are more in a mastery of what you're doing. Because many people would be horrified if they would have known that they actually allowed more negativity to pile on somebody. And again, we're talking here now the overage of negativity that may have broken up relationships or led to other things, and they wouldn't have had any idea or any desire to do that. So we refine ourselves now. We refine ourselves more and more towards this. Now, although this is the main topic of what we wanted to discuss, I think it is important for balance purpose to bring up a little bit of the negativity. One of the things that we have tried to let everybody know in the process that we are all moving through as a group is that for some people, things are not moving as quickly as they would like. We've said before that there is negativity still very much entrenched into certain areas, although a transitioning is beginning to occur. But their entrenchment in certain areas is still there and still has results and still, affects people. One of the more subtle things is when you have particular beings that, intentionally invade certain groups, smaller groups in your community, groups that are trying to get together to do positive things, and you still have let's call it an infiltrator, I don't know any other word, that actually you're now in a group where this is just not quite working out what I had hoped for, and I'm not feeling great leaving there. I'm leaving there feeling, a bit anxious or whatever. And so people now, again, where we talked about the masks falling off, people are now being able to sense, although they still don't necessarily have true confidence in their own feelings, because no, they appear to be a good person, and they appear to be this, and they say they want to do whatever. But the energies have to match. And what you have a lot of times are groups still getting together, and they're just not operating well. And you actually literally now have someone potentially in the midst of it all who is attaching energetic threads to everyone in the group and potentially either opening doors or causing havoc instead of the intention. Now, we again are normally good, loving people who want to believe that people are being genuine and authentic. But unfortunately, you have words and actions must match in order to be that way. We prefer to deal with authenticity, good or bad, because we can see it matches the energy and we know what we're dealing with. Everyone is learning this skill right now. And so the question is, you may actually be noticing some of this potentially beginning to happen to yourself in certain areas. And then the question is, wow, am I dealing with somebody who doesn't know? Are they really? Or am I dealing with somebody who doesn't, does know, and it's intentional?
Yeah.
The only way you deal with things like that is bring it up. You have to be willing to stand up and have these conversations. And then, those, let's say if it's happening, those who really don't mean it, they'll make their words and actions match because there was knowledge deficit there. And those that don't will still try to be kind of pretty clever and sneaky, but you're going to start to feel uncomfortable around their energies, because the thing about negativity is once you start to, again, no other way to describe it, rise in frequency, it's more than that, but we'll just describe it, then you sense more. And in a sense, then they begin to stink. And they are only where they are, so they can't smell their own stink. So when you start to rise in frequency, you're starting to feel an uncomfortableness.
Notice the stink of other people.
Notice the stink of other, and it doesn't matter what they say anymore. It doesn't matter. But first, the conversations need to be had to try and clear up knowledge deficit. So we've experienced this all, and we say this to you out of great experience. We do not willy-nilly necessarily end relationships or end partnerships or end anything like that until we feel we've done everything we can to clear up any misunderstandings, any knowledge deficits, and anything. And sometimes that takes time. Many relationships now are happening over the internet. Phone calls, Zoom, Skype. That's how these relationships are going on. And sometimes negativity can hold it together during a short visit or short part. And then all of a sudden you meet them and things start to not appear as they were when you were talking to them on the phone. Even if just, you could be talking to them an hour a day, but now you're around them and you start to realize something isn't right. And again, a very skillful person on the other end is going to make it think it's you. So, so you can't beat yourself up for having these experiences, because how else are you supposed to hone your skills, And again, don't confuse it with, again, relationships and different things that you're meant to come in, you're meant to experience, and you're meant to leave. All of these things are happening. And so you have to, again, decide. Some relationships will end because the learning lesson's over. You look at them, you don't feel they're horrible persons, you just need to part ways. And then some are going to end because you really feel in your heart of hearts they're not for your highest good. It's all going to be happening. And you're going to be noticing it more on that energetic level. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to bring in, or you want to see if anybody wants to come in to talk about it.
Well, one of the things also that I was going to bring up, there are some people that do blessings of sites, like myself. And I'm not dumping on any particular ethnic group or religious group, or be they pagan or Christian or what have you. I'm not actually doing that. I'm just saying if they are linked to something dark, that they're actually doing the exact opposite of what they're intending. Or in some cases, they're actually doing something they think is for the highest good when it's actually damaging. There's those two viewpoints right there. And years ago, I was in a graveyard with the Sage group. It was called Bachelor's Grove in Illinois. And it's a fairly old cemetery, and it's in an area where Al Capone used to run a lot of his empire from. And there's even his old hideout about maybe 3-4 miles up the road from there. And what happened there was I went in there, and I noticed a woman and her friend were in the cemetery before anybody else walked in there. They were already in there. And I normally don't care, I don't care what ethnic group you are, I don't care what religion you are, I don't care what you're doing as long as it is not energetically damaging the site. And this person, for one, the guy that was there was the lookout. He was actually looking for people at the entrance doing like this. And I'm thinking, okay, somebody's either committing a crime here or they're doing some ritual they're not supposed to be doing. That's basically what my intuition was saying. My father said the same thing. Our friend Dave said the same thing. We're like, something's off here. So I went, I went in there first. I said, just wait. And I went in there first. And I noticed this guy, as he was kind of, like I said, he was the lookout. But I went in. There was this woman walking around the perimeter of the cemetery in a both a counterclockwise and a clockwise fashion. It's called walking widdershins, where you do the perimeter and you're really actually setting up some kind of grid of protection, or you're trying to do something else, doing the opposite. What this person was actually doing, I started doing dowsing and all that, which again, fine. But the effects of what she was doing is where I had where I found fault in what she was doing. The graves, the very old graves that were there, all human remains in bone form, not in powdered form like you would get the carbon from cremation. That's different. That actually gets rid of all of this. All human remains and animal remains have an energy clung to the bones. For centuries this can happen. This is not the ghost. This is the death energy that goes through the bones and the bone marrow. It is actually stuck to the bones. And this was still on those bones that were in the grave. This woman, what she was doing was unhinging that energy and reforming it. People that are adept in conjuring or adept in something like that, or geometric blessings or what have you, can actually reutilize that energy, transmute it, and turn it into something else that might be for their benefit, or if they're thinking it's for the benefit of somebody else, like somebody sending an angel through a prayer, it's the exact same thing. They may think that it's some kind of blessing that they're doing when they're actually destabilizing an area. And what this person was doing, she was mad at us, thinking we were, you're Christian light workers, you're coming in here to destabilize what we're doing. She wouldn't even speak to us. I tried talking to both of them, asking what they were doing. I said, I did energy work, all this other stuff. And all they did was scoff at us, thinking that we were Christian Bible thumpers that were coming in there to stop the evil witch, which is she was pagan. But what she was actually doing was actually, Christian religion would call it desanctifying a site, but I don't like using those terms. She was destabilizing the energy. And she basically was thinking she was blessing it. What was actually happening was that she had a jinn attached into her spinal column that was actually whispering in her ear or making her do these said actions and actually doing these things. She may or may not have known that particular part where she was taking that energy. I don't know that part. I don't know that how much that thing was actually entrenched into her psyche. I didn't know that at that time. I just knew it was entrenched. And what it was doing was destabilizing the energy that was on the remains and trying to restructure it. And I had to go through the place and actually do not necessarily a form of saging. We couldn't burn anything in there. I just went in there and started sending what I call light water and light breath through there, and went through there for a couple hours, undoing all the both molecular and energetic damage that she had done. And this was years ago. The video of when we were there is actually on our YouTube. It's basically it says Illinois graveyards or Illinois cemeteries. I don't remember the actual title, but I called it the Witch of Bachelor's Grove. So if anybody wants to look in our videos, it's in there somewhere. There's over 800 videos in there. I don't remember the titles of all of them. I just know it's in there. And in that, you're going to actually see the cemetery. You don't actually see the person, because I was trying not to actually film the person because I didn't want somebody to lash back later on. But just know those two people were in the graveyard, and they were there pretty much the entire time, and the lookout was just kind of standing around in the graveyard watching at us. And both of them were telepathic. Both of them could actually mind speak, and I tried to actually talk to them that way too. And they thought they were doing a service when in fact they were disrupting. And again, I consider myself more of a pagan than anything else religious because of all the practices we do, or not Gnostic or something like that. But I still don't give myself the label, but my beliefs are closer to those. So I'm not dumping on either one of them. They may or may not have known exactly what they were doing. It was more like the being that knew exactly what it was doing. I'm just saying these are the things that take place. Situations like this take place constantly, and this is why I tend to, automatically have the drawing to police this. This is where I step in and try to fix this. I went around and I managed to clear it of a lot of junk. But I don't know. It's been several years since I've been back there. That person may have returned and done it again. I don't know.
But again, the point of all this is that, we're not trying to put anyone down. No. We're trying to spread what we understand is more knowledge on certain areas so that people can take it in and think about it and look at their own personal intentions, and then consider refining things a little bit, putting, let's call them safety measures. And one of the simplest things you can do, which is not mistaken out of the universe saying, I want good, is going, again, benevolence from the true source creator for my highest good, or for this town's highest good, or for these people's highest good. That is really kind of honing in and making your intentions pretty clear without really many loopholes, let's just say, so for something else to come in. And so think about this, what we're saying, and think about, again, your own personal self, inner reflection, self-work, and just if it rings true to you, then you'll probably take a little bit of this in and apply it somehow to your own life and your own actions, which is all we're wanting to do, is to spread the information. So, anything else?
No, I actually was looking around to see if it was a good channeling day to do anything, and it looks like there's several blockages that are popping up. So I was hoping maybe the forest people or elementals or anyone benevolent, without any malevolent agendas or opposing agendas would come through. But the certain powers of be out there don't like this conversation taking place. I can actually feel that from them now, either from the blockade or else. That's why there were so many distractions that were coming up, knowing that if I heard certain tones, it would distract my attention a little bit. This is no fault of the people that were around. It's just that's how those things usually end up. So I don't believe there's going to be a channeling this time. Because there's not only too many human noise distractions that when I get into channeling mode, they're extremely loud. Even a tiny noise could sound like a horrible screech inside my head if I amplify and open that up. And we were speaking to some friends of ours about that same subject one time, where it can get really horrendously loud. Even if somebody's like clicking their teeth or clicking their nails or doing something like that, it can sound. It's like in the movie Daredevil, where his senses got really heightened. He could hear car horns that sounded like they were in his head, and like all these little the voices of people and the clicking noises, all this other stuff. It sounded like it was booming in his skull. It's like that.
Well, maybe go back and listen to the original show, the first one, and if you feel the channeling is good, is still applicable, put it in.
Yes, yeah. I believe, I don't remember who it was that spoke on that one. May have been Thomas, I don't remember. But I believe I'll go back and listen to that, and also you can go back and listen to that. If I feel there's any more information on this subject and the energy is a little more clear, that day, I can do a channeling based on that. If any more information, if we want to do a third show on this subject, if it keeps popping up, by that time I more than likely will have something. But yeah, there was a gray standing behind me, flipping me off and doing all sorts of stuff behind me. And I was like, no, I'm not letting anybody in that case, and neither should anybody. If you're channeling adept, don't think that you can just open yourself up anywhere at any time. Some people think, oh, I'm picking this up and picking this up. Try to curb that, because you're opening a portal for those beings to come through, even initiating some telepathic conduit or telepathic contact. It's a conduit that comes together, and that conduit can be hijacked. Remember, it's a miniature wormhole. Think of it that way. That comes together, and that's how I bring people in. They come through a portal. I open it up within me and also outside of me. This is how this occurs. If you're feeling that that it doesn't feel quite right, don't do it. If you're a fellow channeler, don't go into an environment where there's a bunch of energies and open yourself up. When we went to Gettysburg, mistakenly and foolishly did that, I paid for it for 6 months. So until somebody else bailed me out of that one. So I have gotten nailed. That was my learning experience. And as I told a client friend not too long ago, I got rather paranoid after that incident. So it was really horrendous. It literally took 6 to 8 months for me to completely clear my genetic memory up, my light body, all of it. And it was pretty ugly. In dimensions, it leached into dimensions by that point, and I and this other person had to do a cleanup job. So if anybody's a channeler, I do not recommend just willy-nilly opening yourself up. Treat yourself better than that, of what energies you put in you. I thought I heard Isaac for a second, but I wasn't going to open myself until I heard his voice basically saying, "Yeah, watch what food you put in you too." That's what I just heard. I just heard that in the background, but that's the extent I'll do it. Doing that and completely opening myself up, two completely different things. I can chat with him for a brief second, even with other creatures around. It's not necessarily recommended, and completely opening myself up to a being coming in and speaking through me, completely different, of different intensities and different wavelengths. So that little nudge I could get away with, but that's the amount I'm willing to do today. So this has actually been a pretty good show. It was more impromptu because all the stuff that happened today. I'll give the date of this particular episode, because I said the dream happened this morning. So it is December 29th at 3:22 in the afternoon, Arizona time. So I do that for a reason. When I do channelings, I'll cap it off with the time and date. You probably have heard me do that or see me do that at some points in time in some of my SSP channelings. But I want to make sure you knew the date this was actually taking place on, to be able to timestamp it. So thank you everybody for watching this episode of The Lifting. Bye-bye everybody.
Bye guys.